Thank you very much for joining me.
Pleasure,
You
Kim.
just got back from Angola.
I did. I did.
So talk to us about that trip, what you saw on the ground.
Okay, so Kemi, I'm Reva Levinson. I'm the CEO of KRL International, but I was in Angola on behalf of the Africa Finance Corporation. And the Africa Finance Corporation was selected by the White House and by the EU to be the project developer for the Greenfield Rail. So as you know, there's the Lobito Atlantic Rail that's being refurbished from the port of Lobito to DRC. And this is the project that connects Greenfield, that goes all the way into western Zambia with the ambition eventually to connect both coasts. So I was there having brought the project developer in to see the excitement and interest of being able to showcase this project and the sustainability and the durability well past this administration in the U.S. or even past the administrations in Angola and DRC and Zambia. You know, the generational impact of the infrastructure.
I mean, before we started this interview, we were talking. One thing that you mentioned is this is not just, as you said, this is not just generational. This serves as a template
100%. Yeah.
for. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah. So what I would say is that this is the U.S. did what it did best in that it brought all of the partners together, including the G7 partners, to come in and to look at how resources could be brought in and de-risked. But it also brought all of the governments around the table to agree on a common set of principles and a way of allowing this cross-border movement in such a way that it would not interfere with national law, but allow for full regional integration in the rail. But the most important thing is it's private sector led, and it's going to be a user pay, and it's an investment model that's going to bear returns for those who invested. So it's not the model of China, where China comes in and they give massive amount of money to build infrastructure that may or may not stand the test of time, and then the governments accrue this debt. So it's a burden on the treasury. It's something that you pay your next generation for, but this is private sector sustained. Most of the money that's going in is private sector, and that gets me to the point of the DFC and how the DFC was able to be the critical tool of the U.S. government to bridge that bankability issue.
For people that are still having trepidation regarding investing in Africa, President Biden have said that, as you mentioned, that this is a template, as well as it will not just provide opportunity for Africa, for the US, for the global world. Could you talk about the supply chain aspect, which is very, very critical? Because many people might think, rail track, Hamtrak, but this goes beyond just rail track. This connects on the global market. Could you talk more about that?
So I think there are two parts, right? One part is U.S. national security interest, which is the fact that it's unlocking a critical mineral basis and providing an opportunity to move critical minerals in a much more sustainable way, and also for investors to come in and beneficiate. So it actually opens up a critical mineral supply chain. We know the numbers in DRC and Angola. We know across Zambia that richness of the belt. So one, it opens up that supply chain. But from my perspective, one of the most important things, it's not just about the track and the critical minerals. It's about opening up the market to everything that can come from those countries. So the agriculture capacity, the ability to create jobs, the technology, everything. It's not just a critical mineral corridor, it's an economic growth and development corridor, right? And it's not, either China or the US. At the end of the day, it's user pay. and not only the user pay, but by the standards that are set from a perspective of environment and jobs and everything. And so if this works, this has the capacity to demonstrate that you can de-risk this type of investment, that you don't have to mortgage your future, you don't have to mortgage your resources, you can bring investors in. And the DFC played a critical role because the DFC made that first investment in the rehabilitation of the Lobito Atlantic Rail. In the greenfield now, they're not in because it's not at that point of investment. But I will tell you that with the Africa Finance Corporation, the USTDA came in and provided a grant to be able to support the environmental and social impact. And once the project breaks ground, which will be February
2026, I
26,
believe.
yeah. I think it's February. I can't remember the month.
Yeah, I know it's 2026.
That then the DFC could come in from an investment perspective. And so you also look at the fact that PGI was able to bring in all of the tools of the U.S., the USTDA, the DFC, the XM, and be able to tie them all together. But at the end of the day, the real hero, and it's a bit of self-interest, is the Africa Finance Corporation, which is a multilateral development bank, and came in and took, in the greenfield, all of the initial risk and put its capital at play to be able to get ahead of the consortium and demonstrate that they were willing to take the on-ground risk, the political risk, the economic risk, and that everybody would follow behind them. And maybe that's the model as well. Do you know? Because it's Africa ownership.
Yeah. I mean, this is considered beyond a major game changer.
I agree.
Not, as I said, not just for Africa, not just for the African-US relationship. The job opportunity that we also create, we know the future is in Africa. But at the same time, the unemployment on the continent. So with what I'm hearing from you is this project, is already creating jobs for people on the ground, as well as for Americans as well.
I think so. It's not only jobs though, but it's also, this is what the African people have been demanding from their leaders. This type of investment that is durable and sustainable and brings in the people around them. And I think the African leaders get credit for delivering this, and the Africa Finance Corporation, what the G7 did, and what PGI did, and what the U.S. government and what the DFC did, was respond with a measure of urgency and coordination that nobody had seen before. And so it's not like we created the project, but we actually got out of our own way and coordinated in such a way. I'm going to give you one more anecdote, and I'm going to show you something, okay?
Okay.
Hold for 1 second. I'm going to... I want to show you something. So I took, you have to go? Sorry. So why don't you take a picture of that, right? So that's upside, it's right back there. Right? So I want you to look at that.
So what are these?
So let me tell you what this is. I went on a mission. Senator Chris Coons was supposed to go to Angola. He couldn't go. So I took his spot on a plane and went on behalf of the Africa Finance Corporation to BA to see the demining efforts.
Okay.
And what I wanted to say, and that's why this is so important, is that what you understand is when they built the Benguela Railroad, they only cleared the mines very close in. They didn't clear the area where the agriculture belt is, where the people live, where they're able to use the broad swath of land to be able to grow and to attach to the rail. What this is doing now is sweeping up all of those mines. So you're not just opening up the economic opportunity, you're getting rid of the history and the legacy of the unexploded ordnance and the landmines.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. We will be following up with you regarding, I know you are working with other African governments as well, so we will be following up. But thank you very much for talking with us.
Okay,
Thank you.
sure,
Thank you.
sure.